In this video, we're going to be covering 6 texts your ex might send to you and how to reply to them. But first, my name is Clay with modernlove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not. And if you like what we're doing here, and if you want to support this channel, please hit that thumbs up button for the algorithm, and please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, all that fun stuff. Well, before we get into this video though, I did want to share with you a quick little cool success story that we got from someone who signed up with Connect and Commit, I guess within the past 6 weeks or so. But she wrote in and said, 6 weeks ago, my fiance ghosted me. He began to have a rebound affair and I was devastated. I signed up with Connect and Commit and I trusted that God put me in your hands. I followed every step, and yesterday we were married with, what was that, like 6 exclamation points? Understandable, I think. That's a pretty big step and a pretty big move. Anyway, she continues on with, it all came so suddenly. I thank God for all, and I thank you for your wisdom. God bless, and her name is Lisa. We'll leave the last name out for anonymity, and of course she gave us permission to share this. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. That's probably one of the fastest turnarounds that I have at least heard of, but really extreme swinging there back and forth from ghosting and getting into a rebound relationship to then getting married just a few weeks later. So I'm really touched and humbled when we do get feedback from people like that. Who have had these major successes in their relationships and in their love life, at least partly because of the stuff that we've been able to help them with. Obviously she did all of the work, but maybe we might have been able to point her in the right direction and guide her in some way. So I'm really humbled when we receive stuff like that, and it really makes my day. So anyway, with that being said, she did sign up with Connect and Commit. If you want to learn more about it, it's down below. Check it out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the 6 text messages that your ex might send to you and how to reply. Okay, so the first text message here is what I might call the dead fish. Okay, this is something that's not really giving you a whole lot to go on here. It's something like hey, or what's up, or how you doing, or something like that. They're not investing a whole lot. You're not getting a whole lot from them, and you're just not sure how to respond, okay? And so what you probably want to do is you want to meet them at approximately the same level of investment, okay? We've talked about this before with, investment theory. You don't want to, if they're going to invest here with a hey, you don't want to invest with, oh my goodness, it's so great to hear from you. Here's everything that's been going on in my life, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to do that. That's way too overinvested. But you also don't want to just kind of, they give you a dead fish, and you don't just want to give them a dead fish back, and it's like, hey, sup, what's up? Nothing. You? Nothing. Okay, bye. Because obviously that's just going to be like, okay, why are we talking? This is pointless. So what you want to do is actually kind of meet them more or less where they're at emotionally, but a little bit more invested, just a little bit more. Not like crazy up here, but just a little bit more invested. And then you want to slowly see if they kind of take the steps up with you and see if the two of you can actually start to increase both of your levels of investment in the interaction. So, you might just say something like, hey, it's nice to hear from you. What's new? And then, they might say something like, oh, not much, or whatever. And that's kind of telling you okay, they're still kind of at that lower level of investment. And that's when you might start to share a little teeny bit more about what's going on with you. Yeah, not too much is up with me, but the other day something cool happened to me. And then, wait for them to say, oh, what was it? And then the two of you can actually start to deepen that emotional connection a little bit more. Okay, and then of course use a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, get into that state of rapport, build that emotional bond, all that stuff, right? The next text is, I guess you'd call this the angry text. I don't know, I'm not feeling particularly creative today, but it's the angry text, right? And this might be them just sort of lashing out at you for maybe something in the past that happened. This can happen sometimes. You're not talking to your ex for a while. Maybe you're doing no contact or something, and then they just send you this big text about them just kind of ripping into you about something that happened during the relationship, how you disappointed them, how they're upset with you about something that happened in the past or whatever, right? And so what you want to do in this situation is you want to avoid, first of all, getting too defensive. there are a lot of people who in this sort of situation will just simply become defensive. They'll say, oh no, that's not what happened at all. Like like actually this is what I did and all of that stuff. And although that might factually be true, that's not what you want to actually do right now with your ex. What you want to do is you want to validate their emotions. You want to validate how they're feeling, because as long as they're in this angry sort of space, anything that you say to them is just going to be sort of deflected off of that anger. And so what you want to do first is you want to remove the armor, remove the external veneer of that anger so that you can actually get through to them and actually start to have a meaningful conversation. So one of the most important things that you can say is, something along the lines of, you're right. You're right. I totally understand that you might be upset thinking that I did that. Then you can just kind of like take the conversation where it's going to go from there. But you got to diffuse that anger first. You got to diffuse those hurt feelings. And one of the most important things that you can do to do that is to validate the feeling. Tell them that they're right. Tell them that, how they're feeling is totally normal, right? Because once you do that, you're actually sort of, in sort of a bigger picture sense, swinging yourself to being on the same team as them and sort of creating that sort of same team dynamic. And then from there, you can open the door to actually start to create an emotional connection. And of course, I'm not in any way suggesting that you become a doormat and say, oh, you're right, I suck as a person, you're always right and I'm always wrong, or anything like that. I know that sometimes people do that, and I don't think anyone out there is advocating that you do that, but sometimes people do that, and it doesn't go over well. We have to ride that line between posture and collapse. And obviously, I'm not recommending that you collapse. I'm obviously not recommending that you posture either and say, oh, you're wrong, this is what happened, or anything like that. But what I am saying that you do is that you just connect with them emotionally and just own what happened, and then just kind of move forward there towards what you want. And so you might say, yeah, that must be really hard for you thinking that I did that. Do you think that I did that intentionally? And then just kind of take that conversation where it's going to go. Okay, text number 3 is the positive text. Now, this is one of the easier ones to respond to because your ex is responding to you positively. They're bringing back some sort of positive emotion, some sort of positive experience, some sort of positive thing that happened or whatever. It's great because they're messaging you in some sort of positive state of mind, and they're, obviously open to connecting with you at this point in time. And so what you want to do at that point is meet them where they're at emotionally, just like what we talked about with the dead fish text, but you're starting at a higher level of investment, and you can meet them there and maybe take it to a greater level of investment together, pulling down to that emotional level, creating that state of rapport, bonding, taking things to that next step, whether that's asking to meet in person, if you can meet in person wherever you live. I know it's 2021 and things are a little bit weird right now, but meet in person if you can, or take the interaction to a deeper level. Go from texting to talking on the phone or video calling or whatever might make sense for you. I probably don't need to go into this one too much because it's a positive text. You're probably not here for help with that. The fourth text is what we would call a sideways text. This is where your ex is just texting about some trivial tangential thing, right? Is there a time that I can come by to pick up my mail? Or I still owe you some money for the shared cell phone plan that we have. Or did you see that thing on TV? Or I just ran into so-and-so. Just little things like this, where you get a sense that they're trying to connect with you, but they're not being very direct about it. They're being really indirect about it. That's why it's sideways. And so what you can do is, again, you're kind of meeting them at this lower level of investment. They're not being direct about it, but basically, you're getting the sense that they're trying to connect with you in some way, but they're a little bit, sheepish about it. They're trying to go about it in a sideways sort of way because they feel uncomfortable about being direct about it or something like that. Or maybe they're just testing the waters to see where you're at emotionally. And so again, you want to meet them kind of where they're at emotionally, and then sort of start to slowly deepen the investment and deepen the commitment between the two of you in the conversation. So, you might simply just start by talking about whatever the tangential thing is, but then start to move it to that emotional level by asking those conversation deepeners and getting into that state of rapport to build the emotional connection between the two of you. Okay, that's a good way to go about doing something like that. But again, you want to meet them where they're at on that emotional level. The fifth text that they might send is I'm gonna call this the physical text. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. We put up a video about physical texting, except we were just being direct about what it was. And that video kind of got sandbagged because we were using words that apparently aren't so great with YouTube. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of euphemisms and for the sake of all of this, your ex is sending you physical text. They're wanting to engage with you in a physical sort of way. And so, this can be a little bit confusing. People don't really know how to respond. And you have to be careful about this because on one hand, yeah, great. Okay, they're interested in you. But on the other hand, you also want to make sure that you're cultivating that emotional side of the dynamic between the two of you, not just the physical side. I know oftentimes some people are so terrified about being in the friend zone that they just kind of like go with it and they're like, okay, great, I'm not in the friend zone. Excellent. And they just hope that that's going to be how it works and that somehow the physical route is somehow the back door to an emotional connection and an emotional commitment. But it's not necessarily that way. You want to make sure that you're building up both sides of that, the physical side and also the emotional side. If you are building up the emotional side, hey, cool, great, go to town and have fun. If that's what you want to do. But if you're, lacking in the emotional side, you definitely want to build that up first. And when it comes to this, you also want to start thinking about your own personal boundaries and what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with. There are some people that think, okay, certain things I shouldn't do until I'm in a committed relationship, or I shouldn't do until I'm married. And that's fine. I obviously want you to hold up that value and hold up that boundary, whatever it might be for you. So I'm not just going to tell you some arbitrary thing like never do this, always do that, or whatever. But, feel into it and see if it's something that you feel good about, assuming this interaction, never actually leads to some sort of commitment or some sort of relationship. If it is something that you feel good about and you could just enjoy it for what it is, okay, great. Go ahead and see it through to its conclusion. But if not, then, you might want to enforce some boundary in a loving sort of way. When it comes to enforcing these boundaries, you don't want to do it in a way where you're punishing them for their desire in you, because, obviously you do want to be in a relationship with someone who does desire you. So you want to kind of like reward them for that, but also lovingly let them know that you have a certain boundary in place. So that's what I'd recommend if you're getting the physical text. By the way, we did do a video, again, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, on physical texts, right up there. Feel free to check out that video card if you want to, watch that video that didn't get a whole lot of exposure, but, maybe if you want to click on that, you can check it out. Anyway, the next text is the emotional confession text, okay? This is where they're coming out and they're telling you something kind of heavy emotionally. Not necessarily that they're angry about you or anything like that, but maybe that they miss you, maybe that they regret the way things ended with you, maybe that they really are wanting to get close to you, or something along those lines. These kinds of things can come out of nowhere, and they can strike for any number of reasons. Maybe the two of you recently had a really positive interaction. Maybe they've just been dealing with a fit of loneliness, or maybe they just are looking back at the positive times that you had together. Whatever, there could be any number of reasons why they're feeling this way. But here you're meeting them at a high level of emotional investment, most likely. And so you can kind of meet them at that high level of emotional investment as well too. And if they're being honest with you, you want to respond by being honest with them. Otherwise, they're going to start to feel a little bit silly for kind of pouring their heart out and then just having you be like, wow, cool, thanks. Or I hear ya. Or something like that. You don't want to give them a dead fish back. You want to kind of meet them back where they're at. So if they're telling you something really vulnerable and emotionally honest, be emotionally honest with them back. Okay, this is going to let them know that it's okay and that it's safe for them to continue to open up to you, and that it's safe for them to continue to share what's going on, because they're going to feel validated in opening up and sharing with you, and they're going to also know that you're committed to the interaction. You're committed to actually texting with them, because if they're sharing something deep and meaningful with you, and then you just send like a little simple 1 or 2 word response, or you just don't respond at all, or something like that, they're going to feel a little bit silly, and they're going to say, okay, that was me being silly. I'm just going to close myself off and not share that sort of stuff again. So definitely meet them where they're at, and definitely take that conversation, wherever it's going to go, emotionally speaking. Okay. So anyway, I hope you've liked this video. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And also you might want to check out our course called Connect and Commit. Again, that's what the gal shared with us at the beginning of this video. It goes through 7 make or break moments with your ex that could go very poorly, and it tells you sort of how to respond in those moments to turn them into opportunities for greater connection. Okay. We also did just recently add a new bonus to that whole course that goes through kind of the big picture strategy, how all of this fits in together, you know, like with the 5 stages and the triangle of commitment and the 3 C's of commitment and all of that stuff. But anyway, go ahead and check that out down below. If that seems like it's a good fit for you, feel free to sign up. If not, no worries. But anyway, take care. And if you want to learn more about texting with your ex, please feel free to check out this video series over here, or you might want to check out this video right here. Once again, though, my name is Clay. Please take care, and I'll talk to you next time.